is a massive media scandal, another one, this time over at ABC News. And ABC News is in full cover-up mode, trying to protect George Stephanopoulos now, trying to put this issue to sleep. And what is the issue? As our friends at Newsbusters, Media Research Center's wonderful Newsbusters tell us, ABC's George Stephanopoulos acknowledged his tens of thousands of dollars of donations to the Clinton Foundation in a Thursday interview with Politico's Dylan Byers. Byers reported that Stephanopoulos said that, contrary to earlier reports, he's given a total of $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation. The Good Morning America anchor also announced that he will not moderate the ABC News-sponsored Republican primary debate in February after failing to disclose those contributions. Stephanopoulos admitted to Byers that, quote, in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have, even though I did, for the best of reasons. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that when this hatchet man, this Clinton liberal hatchet man dressed up as a phony journalist, because he does more than Good Morning America, he does their Sunday show over at ABC, that when he questioned Peter Schweizer on April 26 on This Week, ABC's This Week, that he was a partisan hack, and that it was outrageous that he would question Schweizer's independence and so-called partisanship, given his background, given him. And I want to salute Rand Paul, who's been trying to point this out for some time now. And so I felt Stephanopoulos shouldn't be anywhere near any of the Republican debates, particularly what he did to Romney a few years ago. And it goes on over at Newsbusters. The Politico correspondent noted that the $75,000 figure represents charitable contributions of $25,000 in 2012, 2013, and 2014, respectively. Byers continued by detailing the ABC's personality's announcement that he wouldn't moderate the upcoming GOP primary. And yet, Stephanopoulos refused to recuse himself from coverage of the 2016 presidential campaign. He said to Byers, the Good Morning America, or Byers wrote, the Good Morning America co-anchor and host of This Week said he would not moderate ABC's GOP debate, scheduled in February. Republican Senator Rand Paul said Thursday Stephanopoulos should be prohibited from moderating any debates during the 2016 presidential debate. Stephanopoulos said, I won't moderate that debate. I think I've shown that I can moderate debates fairly. No, quite the contrary. You've shown that you're a Clinton hack. That said, I know there have been questions made about moderating debates this year. I want to be sure I don't deprive viewers of a good debate. Stephanopoulos said he would not recuse himself from coverage of the 2016 presidential campaign, despite urging from the office of Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who said today that Lee said he would advise people not to go on This Week unless the host recuses himself from all 2016 coverage. Meanwhile, ABC News, trying to cover up, trying to prevent a Brian Williams fiasco, they issued a statement of support for Stephanopoulos because, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it, ABC News supports Hillary Clinton too. And no punitive action will be taken against Stephanopoulos. Of course not. He's a good little soldier. And it should be also pointed out that in 2009, my buddy Brent Bozell, the MRC president, he wrote a letter to ABC News President David Westman at the time, calling on him to publicly address and resolve what appears to be a clear violation of journalistic ethics by Stephanopoulos. Because Politico reported at the time that he participated in daily phone strategy sessions with then White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel. This is a disgrace. Now, I know this goes on all over the media. You know, I know. The media are the Praetorian Guard for the left. Obama, Clinton, you have it. The overwhelming majority of the media are Democrats. The overwhelming majority in the media are leftists. At least liberals. How the hell can ABC News hire a guy like Stephanopoulos? He wasn't just a think tank type liberal. This is a guy who was the implementer. He was the enforcer for the Clinton mob. And yet there he is. $75,000 in the last 3 years, including recently in 2014 to the Clinton Foundation, and he never told anybody. Oh, but they say it was there in the records. That's like saying my name's in the yellow pages or in the white pages of the phone book in Manhattan. Oh, wow, it's right there. Look at that. No, 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 no. You have a duty bigger than that, pal. And you broke your journalistic, whatever they call it, ethics, as if there is any. I want to remind you, folks, April 26, 2015, George Stephanopoulos, having given $75,000 to the Clinton money laundering operation called the Clinton Library Foundation, whatever they call it, questioning Peter Schweizer, his book, Clinton Cash, whether he's a partisan. And not one time during that interview did he reveal Stephanopoulos that Stephanopoulos is not only a partisan, that he gave $75,000 to the institution which is the subject of Peter Schweizer's book. He should never have conducted the interview. ABC News should have told everybody that he had been a donor, a major donor, to the Clinton money laundering operation. But no, not a word. Not a word. I believe our friends at the Washington Free Beacon, among others, discovered this. And what was Stephanopoulos going to do? Keep it secret throughout the whole campaign while he was moderating one of the Republican debates? Sleazy, unethical. He should be thrown out of ABC. He can't be trusted. Here was the so-called interview Stephanopoulos did with Peter Schweizer, who exposed what's been going on at the Clinton money laundering operation. Cut 9, go.
As you know, the Democrats have said this is indication of your partisan interest. They say you used to work for President Bush as a speechwriter. You're funded by the Koch brothers. How do you respond to that?
Well, George, what did I do when this book was completed? I went to the investigative unit at the New York Times, the investigative unit here at ABC. I went to the investigative unit at the Washington Post, and I shared with them my findings. Okay, these are not cupcakes. These are serious researchers. They are confirming what I've reported. So people can look at the fact.
They haven't confirmed any evidence of any crime.
Well, but it's not up to an author to prove crime. I mean, you think that when people first started looking at Governor McConnell or they started looking at Menendez, that they immediately had evidence? You need subpoena power. You need access to records and information. You need access to emails. There's all sorts of things that you can do. You can't leave it up to an author to say that an author has to prove a criminal.
So Stephanopoulos wasn't even semi-curious about the substantiated allegations in this book. Not even semi-curious. Immediate defense. How many communications were there between Stephanopoulos, former Clinton bagman and hatchet man, and the Clinton folks prior to this interview? Do we know? Are they going to tell us? The man donated $75,000 to the entity that this book exposes. He starts hammering away, trying to discredit the author as a partisan. While he sit there, and he knew full well, while sitting there knowing full well, that he was the partisan, that he was the one that gave $75,000 to this foundation. He knew it. It wasn't an oversight. He didn't get it. And if it hadn't been revealed by the Washington Free Beacon, among others, and Dylan Byers over at Politico, if it hadn't been revealed by them and others, he never would have said that he did that. Never. How can ABC News justify retaining George Stephanopoulos? This could be actually worse than Brian Williams, as far as I'm concerned. Brian Williams was a congenital liar. He said he was at places he wasn't at. Things happened that never happened. Now that's bad, real bad, particularly if you're a reporter. But we have a guy here with a Class A conflict of interest who tried to steer a news event, who tried to smear an author, who tried to discredit a book without revealing that he was an investor, a donor. to the target of the book. How can anybody trust George Stephanopoulos? How can anybody trust ABC News? Good Morning America? How can anybody trust This Week as long as they have this guy around? I'm serious about this. It's time that these big media corporations clean up their acts. It's time that they be held to a standard too. And not a double standard or a quadruple standard or any other standard, but a real standard of ethics. Stephanopoulos failed it. And he failed it big time. This isn't some toast-up. This is a big deal. He did not admit that he gave $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation. It had to be pulled out of him. It was not an oversight. It was an intentional cover-up. And now ABC News is participating in a cover-up too. They're not going to take any punitive action against him. They're not going to do anything. ABC News is no better than NBC News. And George Stephanopoulos, you are worse than Brian Williams. I'll be right back.
What?